Can someone elaborate why the omnipresent node system is not a complete failure? Why do people think that the node system is something revolutionary? We had a social experiment not long ago called New World, a similar city system, and let's just set aside all the exploits for the sake of the argument, and it turned out to be a complete disaster. On the forums prior to release, people loved the system, but not long after release, people began to understand the mess of the economic system. Bank storage was annoying to manage, auction house was a disaster, and only one or two were active. Nodes, cities were owned by massive Discord communities, and the rest of the server was unable to respond. PvP was fun at the start, but massive PvP groups farming everyone made solo players not opt into PvP. In short, the node systems are designed for massive guilds and communities, but not everyone plays or even wants to play in a group. Current WoW and New World numbers clearly indicate that a lot of people actually enjoy solo content and have no way to oppose these massive conglomerates, and eventually people will lose interest. How is this not a concern? Did everyone already forget what happened social dynamic-wise in New World? Okay, so first and foremost, I want to say that comparing New World's cities to Ashes of Creation's nodes is disingenuous. The systems don't work the same. The systems aren't anywhere near the same. Number two, half of this post has nothing to do with the node system. Half of this post has to do with the flagging systems. So really quickly, I'm going to address things like PvP was fun at the start, but massive PvP groups farming everyone made solo players not opt into PvP. New World has a opt-in system, which means if you don't opt into PvP, when you leave the city, you can't be killed by other players. That is different than Ashes of Creation, and Ashes of Creation has a flagging system. Now, for those of you that don't know the site that is Ashes 101, this is the textbook for Ashes. I maintain this. So there is an entire system, right? An entire system for themes versus flagging and what's the difference, right? What is the difference between flagging? What is the difference between the PvP themes? As you can see over here, all of the PvP themes. Zetrix broke it again. I gotta have Zetrix fix there we go. We got Zetrix X to fix the sidebar. But here's all the PvP themes. Here's all the different PvP themes, right? Ashes of Creation, you can always be killed. You can't opt out of PvP. Now, if you want to know more about the world and the nodes, right? The node system in Ashes is huge. It's massive, right? It's unbelievably large. Node cities were owned by massive Discord communities, and the rest of the server was unable to respond to the monopoly. Okay, you're right. In New World, the owners of the city got a tangible bonus. The owners of the city were a guild. In Ashes, the owner of the city is the server. The mayor has certain roles. The other node leadership has certain roles, right? With that said, you can't stop people from becoming a citizen of that node. So when you're comparing New World to Ashes and you're saying the node system is bad because their city is bad, you're right. But in Ashes, the castles will be owned by massive guilds. And the castles are a different level of content than the nodes. The auction house was a disaster as only one or two were active. Well, this is true. And this is part of the idea of regional economies. Ashes is going to have regional economies. You're going to have to travel to places. Let me tell you, this works in a game. It works in EVE Online. It works very well in EVE Online. There is an entire class of player in EVE Online that do nothing but logistics. They do nothing but buy low, move to Jita, sell high, kind of, or they buy in Jita low and they move those items out closer to the jump points, because if you can spend a million ISK on a ship in Jita or 1.1 million ISK near a jump point and not spend the 40 minutes going to Jita, you're going to spend the 1.1 million because it gets you back in the fight sooner. Same thing with the auction houses. If you have a section of the world right on the coast, people are going to bring things to the coast to sell them because it's easier to get to the coast. But you're going to have everybody undercutting you. They're going to be undercutting you, so the price near the coast is going to be lower. You got a section of the community all the way down this gold brick road. There is going to be life in that village. But if that round trip to that coast, that node by the sea, is an hour, you could probably charge a little bit higher of a premium down there for weapons, armors, potions, finished products. Because then people don't have to spend the hour to run. You spent the hour moving the stuff. That's how you get paid. For the rest of this, a social experiment not long ago was called New World, a similar city system. Well, yeah, we call New World Ash's Light because they stole Ash's idea. Let's just set aside all the exploits. It turned out to be a complete disaster. I disagree with you. I don't think New World turned out to be a complete disaster. Not for the nodes reason. I think New World turned out to be a horrible situation because the game was launched too soon. The game wasn't ready. New World is an amazing alpha. New World is a horrible finished product, right? New World is an amazing alpha. It's a horrible finished product. Had it stayed in the oven a few more months, a year, they probably would have been in better shape. The node system is designed for massive guilds and communities, but not everyone plays or even wants to play in a group. Let me key in on this real quick. If you do not want to play in a group, go play Final Fantasy XIV. Final Fantasy is an MMORPG. It's a single player game dressed up as an MMORPG, right? Current WoW and New World numbers clearly indicate that a lot of people actually enjoy solo content. I want to say always be careful about the numbers, right? New World Steam charts. Here's what I want to say. Don't say numbers indicate anything unless you've actually gone and looked up the numbers. New World has 19,000 people playing this morning. New World's numbers don't tell me anything. I don't know what this number tells me, other than there's 19,037 masochists out there that enjoy a bad game. But remember, good or bad is subjective. 19,037 people think New World is a good game, so they're playing it. But when you say, where are we at? The numbers indicate that a lot of people actually enjoy solo content. No, it doesn't. That's not what those numbers indicate. It might be what those numbers indicate, but you don't know what those I don't know what those numbers indicate. You don't know what those numbers indicate. All we have right there is raw, uninterpretable data. A lot of people enjoy solo content, have no way to oppose these massive conglomerates, and eventually people will lose interest. Okay, I hate to break it to you, Starshine, but you don't get a way to oppose the massive conglomerate. That's not how life works. You're not Rambo. You don't get to oppose 200 enemies and win. The 200 enemies should win 100% of the time. Even if they're 200 chowder, you shouldn't be able to 1 versus 200. If you can 1 versus 200, the game is broken. How is this not a concern? Did everyone already forget what happened the social dynamic wise in New World? Well, what I would suggest is that if you're worried about this guy's post, here's the node system broken out. Right? Here's the node system broken out. And go in and read all this. And I will tell you that of the 75,000 words that Ashes 101 is, about 40,000 of them are on the node system, because the node system is the key feature, the key thing of the game. So yeah, I would definitely recommend looking at that. realistically, if the first 3 to 6 months of New World was not plagued by game-breaking bugs, that many large groups abused, it would have been much more balanced. There were groups of 200 to 300 who overran servers by abusing mechanics. You can't make that statement, and I'm going to call you out on that. I'm going to call you. I'm going to call you out on that. You can't say if we ignore the 3 to 6 months of game-breaking bugs, then things would have been better. No, I reject your premise entirely, because if the first 3 to 6 months was plagued by game-breaking bugs, why are you even remotely trying to defend the product? The game shouldn't have launched. And I would argue with you that there wasn't 3 to 6 months of game-breaking bugs. I would argue with you that there were 9 months of game-breaking bugs. That New World didn't stop having game-breaking bugs until about 3 months ago. It was an alpha. It was not a launch candidate. If they did a fresh start today, it would be a good game. No, it wouldn't. Why do you think a fresh start would motivate anybody to come back? There's no content to do. There's still no content to do. If you want to know how bad the bugs were, a few months into the game, we found the game didn't sanitize chat input. People were literally able to change game code. Yes, I know. I'm aware of that. And that's a huge... See, if you have a bug that is that game-breaking, how can you say the game was good? It was great being fully geared out and getting 2-tapped by the hatchet bug. But PvP is broken, Zerg's work, and New World, yeah. The problem is that this person's complaint about Ashes of Creation's node system is based on a game that executed it poorly. EVE Online has player held zone controlled, and they do it amazingly. As someone who played New World through multiple alphas and betas and helped run a large guild, I can honestly say New World attracted a demographic of MMO player that I've never seen before. They weren't looking for aspects of an MMO that aren't immersive. The game and community is focused on conquer. There isn't a single moving or talking NPC. They made rabbits no longer fear for their life because the community thought hunting was too tedious. This was not normal. Well, you're right, because you have to remember, how did New World start? New World did not start as an MMORPG. New World started as an MMO survival game. A lot of the things that they did, they took from a survival game and tried to not go back to square one. They built half the house, and then they decided they wanted the first floor to be a business, but they forgot to put a kitchen on the second floor, and now everybody in the residence is starving to death. That's what happened. They literally did not think through what we're doing. They said, you know what? We have the baseline of a survival game, and now we're going to look at Ashes of Creation. And I don't care what anybody says. New World did not organically decide to do the city system with governors. This was New World failing the test, leaned over, looked at Ashes of Creation, copied their paper, but they didn't understand all the bits and pieces that go into it. And so what happened was they took a great idea and they executed it poorly. So am I worried about the omnipresent node system being a complete failure because New World was a complete failure? No, I am not. I am not worried about Ash's success compared to New World. I saw somebody say it, and I'll repeat it. The only thing you should look at New World for is what happens when you don't follow best practices for MMORPGs, and then you make all the same mistakes that every other MMORPG has ever made. New World didn't just make some mistakes, they literally ran down the list of mistakes and made every single mistake an MMORPG could make that other games have told them, don't make these. So yeah, I'm not worried about the omnipresent node system. I think the node system is going to be amazing. I've given you guys a couple of links. I'll put a couple more links in the YouTube video description so that you could look at that if you're new to Ashes of Creation and the node system.